Good evening everyone, it's your man of the hour, the Tower of Power, the living legend of professional wrestling punditry. Hello, my name is Lee Hazel and this is part 2 of the new SteelChair shoot, where me and Craig Hermit start discussing Survivor Series proper.
It was a weird match in that sense, where it looked as if it was, if I'm going to go behind the scenes, I was just saying, it looked as if it was booked by Raw, to be blunt honest.
Yeah.
If it was like a case of Raw writers being the guys that took over this match, it was that. I mean, I was personally looking at some of the guys from SmackDown. I mean, I was liking some of the stuff that Natalya, I admittedly didn't see Natalya coming in with some of the stuff she did. I was quite shocked at the fact that she came up with that. I mean, there was, don't get me wrong, Becky Lynch, as we said, was great as well. Admittedly, it seems as if she got beat a little bit too easy as well with the 2-on-1, which I thought, okay, that's something. Nia Jax, I mean, she looked dominant, which in fact, if she's going to go forward, great. But there was a bit on some of those matches and a bit like just didn't seem to work. Like I think there was a bit where there's parts of that like that just didn't click to me. Alexa Bliss, she looks good as well. She was fantastic. Then again, in my personal opinion, I think Alexa Bliss should be the next SmackDown Women's Champion.
I am in agreement with that. Yeah.
Because she has come so far since she debuted on SmackDown. It's just, she's been a highest and basically been something fierce just going all the way. Naomi that's another one that was in the match as well, which I would have put her as one of their, like, I'm glad basically this new image change, she has the Feel the Glow thing, which is great. But in my mind, it's good to have her in there. But I would like to see more storyline stuff. But it primarily downs in my head, as you were saying earlier, it does go down with as if it does sound like a Raw booking type thing, where it was there to highlight all the Raw guys. Like, as I said, where everyone got at least a chance to shine. But overall, when you're looking at it, the more storyline impact was with Raw. Case in point with the end with Charlotte and Bayley, is that there was more time taken up with those two at the after event as well and leading afterwards, when she looked at it just thinking, all right, because that took 2-on-1 to eliminate the champion of SmackDown. That builds that shows credibility and stuff, but it's like the aftermath, you weren't thinking about SmackDown at all. You were only thinking about Raw.
And that's a real shame because SmackDown, I actually think, has got by far and away the deeper, more complex, the more layered women's division. Like, you've got Natalya, you've got Nikki Bella, you've got Carmella, you've got Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch. Whereas Raw right now was, for a long time, a two-woman show. But it seems that Nia Jax has only really been given a part to play since they needed, like, the big monster heel for the SmackDown Survivor Series match. And are they going to continue with her being the monster? I mean, she was tapped out, wasn't she?
Basically it was by Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
So the thing is so going back, like, cause when you look at it, and you're absolutely right, I mean, when you look at the feuds and the fights and the basic storyline dynamic you've got in SmackDown, you've got Becky Lynch versus Alexa. Brilliant. That's one feud to the side. Camilla versus, I guess, Nikki Bella. Great, put that to the side. You've now got who was it that injured Nikki Bella? We don't know. Everyone's pointing at maybe Camilla, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Naomi or something like that with a nice
Natalya.
Turn. Is that Natalya as well? Great way to bring her back into it.
Yeah.
So already that's 3 feuds. 3 feuds alone already in that. When you go across to Raw, you've now got Bayley versus Charlotte.
Yeah.
Or Sasha Banks versus Charlotte. Or maybe Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax.
Yeah.
That's it. And you look at that going, but all of that's focusing on one woman, that's Charlotte at that point. And basically you might have 2 feuds out of it, but they'll need to find that out. But you've got Alicia Fox at that point as well, who's also out there. They need to, as we discussed earlier, she's not doing anything in that sense, where she's still important. I mean, she's important to the fans. She's still got her fan base. But we'd love to see her do something more. I mean, not as if Raw doesn't have the talent. They do. They just need more creative writing. I mean, when you look at it, listen, you're going to sound off the critical here, but the fact you've got 3 hours. And it's using that thing where the fact is maybe 3 hours is too long. But the thing is, 3 hours doesn't have to feel like 3 hours if you're using it wisely.
Exactly.
And the thing is, you've got great talent there. Use it. If you've got 3 hours, because let's face it, Raw is McMahon and that's not going to dump the third hour because they're making too much more money in revenue to generate that third hour. So why don't they just start using the creative power that they've got? Or even take a leaf out of SmackDown, do a trade-off of writers, see how creative it could be to just add a new bit of energy into it. And I guarantee if they did something like that, even behind the scenes, us as wrestling fans would love to see something from that women's division. It'd be brilliant more.
Well, that's the thing with Raw at the moment, and I think it sort of showed with the booking. I think it was a real Raw booked event, a real Raw booked evening, because it was all about showy off moments. It was about the sort of like the not necessarily about character development, about storytelling, but more like, oh, look at this, here's a moment that you're going to remember, here's a moment that you're going to replay again and again and again on the WWE network for years to come. And it's like, there was some storytelling in there, but not an awful lot of it compared to the amount of just like big wow firework display of, oh, look at this, oh, see here sort of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's the thing you can tell immediately from a Raw and SmackDown show. SmackDown looks at storylines. I mean, you look at that and it delves back from the Paul Heyman days when he ran SmackDown. It's literally a case you go to SmackDown for the storylines. I mean, they had big moments, and they do have big stars in the sense of who'll do the same moments as well. But when you look at the aftermath of Raw and SmackDown, people were laughing and joking about Ambrose, about dressing up as a Mountie, is dressing and bringing pizza when he's been suspended from the actual show. Another storyline involved there. The Wyatts and Orton basically had finally done something in the sense of finally getting that elusive pay-per-view win. It was great to see. James Ellsworth. And I would want to answer James Ellsworth in Raw. We saw what they do with someone like James Ellsworth. And somehow in SmackDown, don't get me wrong, as much as I disagree with the world champion taking a three losses.
Oh my God, that was painful.
But the thing is, we can always attach an asterisk to that no matter what happens, because it was down to Dean Ambrose. And we know that fuels the fire for their feud that's coming at TLC. So we can always go, oh, why did that happen? But we can turn around and go, we know it's building to someone, so we know there's a reason why. Where if you look at Raw, the main thing you look at Raw right now is you look at Kevin Owens, Jericho, and the two of them have got so much character. It doesn't matter, because you can throw them in an empty room and they'll still be brilliant to watch. Strowman at the moment has now finally started to show some sort of character, some sort of just something that fans can delve into. And
he doesn't look as green as he's done in the past as well. He actually looks like he's performing his moves with some sort of like sense of precision. He's hitting his cues. He's where he needs to be when he needs to be there.
Exactly right. I mean, now he's starting to look like that monster we want him to be, because and the thing is like, even if it had to be discussed that he's done like keepy-ups, he did a keep-up in a match as well. And people are standing there going, holy hell, this guy can actually properly go, which is great, because we need that. I mean, we need something from him. He's not just the big guy who just moves and stuff. You're like, yes, finally we've got someone. Roman Reigns, you know what, as much as we all hate on him and fans can't stand him and stuff like that, you know what, he's doing his thing and he's doing it great. You know what, he's doing what the US champion should be. But the thing is, as long as WWE, in my personal mind, don't push him towards the main title just yet, keep Seth Rollins where he is. Keep Roman Reigns where he is as well, because they're right there where they need to be. Jericho with a list, let's face it, it's just gold. You know what I mean? As long as they don't keep pushing that too far, and I'm loving the idea of just many dissensions in the ranks between him and Kevin Owens. When that feud explodes, I'm going to love seeing that. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to wait for that a little bit longer. I actually think that that's going to be the Rumble main event, because they want Kevin Owens, I think, to be the champion up until the Rumble. But, you know, Chris Jericho's not going to win it, so I think their main event is coming. I think that's coming in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, in my mind is Kevin Owens will probably lose it to either Rollins or Roman. But it'll be the cost of Chris Jericho interfering, and that will be the beginning of the end of that friendship, and then that'll be it. Is in my mind, that'll be something. But going back to what I was saying, with storylines and everything, when you look at it, when you look at the other guys, I mean, the only other thing, like people in my mind on the Raw roster who you could look at, like who's interacting in the storyline, is Cesaro and Sheamus, who, don't get me wrong, have been entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
But their mind, their storyline is being against themselves, which reminds me of the old, I think it was Angle and Benoit type tag team they had in 2002, which is great to see. But other than that, you've got New Day versus the Club, and then after that, that's kind of it. I mean, Amore and Cass are doing the thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I actually wanted to touch on for a little bit, was that we had a lot of what I like to call ticker tape tag teams in this Survivor Series thing, and I was just thinking to myself, if they had just done a better job putting over guys like the Vaudevillains, a better job putting over the Ascension, who were doing really excellent work in NXT. They are doing their part, but the hype that they get surrounding them, like, they weren't introduced properly. I think that's the problem. WWE were expecting the audience to respond to them in the exact same way that the NXT crowd responds to them, but the problem with that is that there's a disconnect there. They didn't know their characters, they didn't know the sort of backstory. They were introduced to the live crowd immediately as they were as they came out in NXT, whereas there should have been like a video package introducing them. There should have been like more video packages detailing their time in NXT, their success in NXT, their characters, their personas, their personalities. They shouldn't have come out of the gate wrestling straight away like they were doing. They should have had some promo time. They should have got the opportunity to get the audience used to them, because they are very different from everything that you've got in the division right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I'll be blunt, you're definitely right in that one, because it's different from wrestling the crowd in Full Sail, where it's quite close-knit, it's quite intimate, amongst a wrestling arena which will host about 6,000, 7,000, and then at that point in time, not everyone has access to the WWE Network. Mm-hmm. And not everyone's going to look into it and go, oh yeah, let's have a look at this. I mean, some Raw fans are just exactly the same as the UK fans, where sometimes they'll just go to a wrestling event because it's in their area. And the thing is, you look at people now, like case in point with this Melina type thing that's kicking off right now. The amount of effort that's gone to building her up every single week, promo per promo. Then you've got what they did in NXT with Sanity. Sanity's coming, or the return on, I can't remember his name, the return of the guy who plays the guitar. Yeah. He's coming back now.
And that's how they need to do it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's so bizarre where the fact is, well, like the way I put it down to, right, and it's something fierce which I just don't get, right, is WWE already put the instructions on how to do this in their computer games.
Yes.
Right? I'm going back to this where, like, I'm not a massive gamer person. I mean, I'm someone that goes down to the storyline mode in 2006 SmackDown versus Raw.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, even with that, when you're playing that game and you were in charge of the roster, before someone arrived to get the right impact, you'd click on the button that says new superstar and you'd do a promo beforehand to get them over. And that's what they should be doing. I mean, the fact is that when you look at who they've got, like case in point, look at the 10 people they had, the 10 Survivor Series match people they had. The club basically jumped in the ring, attacked, done. And that was it. All people knew, because not everyone knew of them in the Bullet Club from New Japan. Not everyone knew them from Ring of Honor and that point in time when the two of the guys facing everything. Not everyone knew that. And they're sitting there just going, who are these people? The shining stars. Yeah. There's not a lot of hype about from them, because the fact is all people like this angle they've got where they're going to sell timeshares. I'm sorry, no one gives a damn about that. Myself, I'm sitting there watching it going, why should I be in, like, case in point, where I'm sitting there going, they're selling timeshares. Why are they selling timeshares?
They're just selling timeshares. That is a real throwback to like the old bad Raw storytelling and booking. That is like one of the classically bad examples of a lame idea that some dude probably high up came up with and nobody had the guts to say no to him.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because the thing is, when you actually look at the Shining Stars by themselves individually and what they've done in the independent scene before they came to WWE, they are great, and we all know they could be. And the fact is, they have shown potential to do that if given the chance. And that's why, in fact, when you look at some of the other teams, like in that, even when you look at it, like case in point, look at Hype Brothers and Brazango, as they call it, and at least they're doing something. At least the fact is, the Hype Brothers, yes, it's a dumb angle of being hyped all the time and they're hyped. But they've kept doing that since NXT. And the thing is, we don't expect them to be anything different because, you know what, at least that's who they are. Brazango, they're a perfect match. They are exactly who they are. They're not going to be tag team champions. I'll be bluntly honest, in my mind, they're like, I think it's like Robbie E. and Mr. Spectacular from TNA. And the strangest thing, they actually won tag team champions. They went on to be 2-team tag team champions. But the thing is, we wouldn't expect Brazango to actually be tag team champions, but they are. But we do understand where they're coming from. Case in point, the Usos, when they actually jumped onto this tag team elimination match, suddenly became faces again, which I was actually just getting into them being utter huge.
And they've done really good work as the heels, like the new personas they've got, the attitude they've got as they walk down to the ring, which they keep up throughout the matches. The fact that they now use Tequila Sunrise as their finisher is actually like really intriguing. Submission moves in a tag team match is not something we usually get a lot of.
Exactly. I mean, before we had them in Raw and they were just high flying. So by the way, 4 people are out of the ring. Oh, the Usos are in the ring. Oh,
Yeah.
I think they're going to do a dive. They're going to do a dive. But now we've got them doing a whole lot more, and we've got a bit more into them in the sense of exactly what they can do. And it's great to see. American Alpha, great to see them doing their thing, because now they're coming back.
I'd have loved to have seen them win. I'd love to have seen them win that whole thing, because this is the first time they've actually been on a pay-per-view card proper without having to be on the pre-show. And it's just... Like this was their chance to shine. I really thought that they were going to give this to American Alpha as sort of like an almost like, okay, these guys aren't in the title picture just yet, but if you give us a little bit of time, here's what they can do. They'll probably get the belts, probably WrestleMania time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Because going by that SmackDown there, spoilers again, people, if you haven't seen it, but going next week, you've got American Alpha versus the Wyatt family. Fantastic card, because both of them are riding high. And it's, as I said earlier, this match basically, Survivor Series, showed exactly what happens when Raw takes over.
Exactly, yeah.
Because, as you said, we could have seen a whole lot more. And it's as if, like, SmackDown writers have gone, right, fine for that. That's a thing that happened. Let's bring everything back. Yeah. And it was great to see. The fact is that we're going to have them going into final, facing Heath Ledger and Rhino, which they've got their 15 minutes. They've got their merchandise done. Let them lose the titles to either the Wyatts or American Alpha, which would be great to happen. And then I would want honest, you're probably right in the sense of, in my mind, probably American Alpha will get the titles at WrestleMania. Have the Wyatts win it now. Heath Ledger and Rhino are just doing. There was nothing they were doing in that tag team match. It was a great feel-good story. It was unpredictable when they won the titles. Yeah. They've now got the merch to do it.
Exactly.
That's it. Done and dusted now. And I think SmackDown writers now know this.
So do you think, when it comes to the Raw tag teams, Sheamus and Cesaro specifically, I actually think when you look at the title picture on Raw, you've got the New Day, the Club, you've got Enzo and Cass. I don't actually think there's any room for Cesaro and Sheamus in that mix, which is kind of odd because they're stars. They need to be in the title picture. Otherwise, why else are they there? It's a waste of time for the pair of them if they're not doing that. But it's already so crowded. I just can't see them winning in that environment. And yet, what else are they going to do? It's like... they're just going to end up feuding again. They're going to have an argument. They're going to end up feuding again. And it's going to be the same thing as the Best of 7 series. It was them too much together, too fast. And then after that, we're just going to have it all over again. And people are going to be really sick of it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's where the fans don't want to see them to go at it again.
No,
because
I don't.
It was too much.
Yeah.
It was too much too soon and compact in such a time. I mean, I'll be happy. This is my own personal predictions. I would love to see it. I would love to see the Club beat the New Day. Done. New Day steps back a little bit. Even feud with each other. Even just have a little triple threat amongst themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
That little side. Because they're gold by themselves. Let them do their thing. Have the Club then versus Cesaro and Sheamus. Take Enzo and Moore out of the picture completely. I mean, they're big for the fans. And with that whole entire thing, I would love to just take them out completely, have them a separate entity, maybe have versus someone else, and have them develop another tag team. Like, I would want on my personal thing, you know what, cool, Enzo, and Big Cass, you know what, you can't teach that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
But I want to see Cesaro versus Sheamus because they shone in that tag team match, and they looked great. Even the aftermath with in one of the interviews, they have chemistry. Let them take on the Club. Let Sheamus and Cesaro be the tag team that can stop them. Let the two of them build. Let the two factions build each other up, and that way we can see them collide, and that will be a great thing to see. Because right now it would be just superb. Just like because everyone's going on about Enzo and Big Cass, take them out of the picture. Because in my mind, I would just take them out of the picture now.
Really? You're not a big fan of theirs?
It's not that I'm massive big fan. It's just the fact is when you look at the stuff they've done before, when you look at it, you've got Big Cass, who is a big guy, who can do his big thing. But you've got Enzo doing his thing, and it's a great small tag team. But I don't think they're tag team champion credentials yet. It's just they've got the fan base. But they would be a WrestleMania moment if they won the tag team.
Absolutely,
champion. They would be, even if fans like, take them out for a wee bit, move them across the side, because even when they were doing the matches with the Club and they were losing, their credentials were not being hindered. There was nothing bad about it at all. The popularity was not diminishing. The Clubs were.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Everybody's saying them are like, usually when Enzo Amore and Cass face off against the tag team. Before the bell is even rung, it feels like the tag team they are going up against has lost because they've just taken a verbal beating. Enzo is just like beating them into submission with like his puns and his put downs, and it's like you can't recover from that. So like it's almost as if they have to get beaten up every single time they're in the ring. Otherwise, the other guys, they're just going to get buried.
Yeah, it's basically like facing the Rock again. It's like it's the WrestleMania Rock versus the Wyatt family. It's case in point where it was that moment where you go, oh, the Wyatts are going to come, and they just got destroyed verbally by the Rock, and everyone was just like afterwards going, cool, that could have been a great moment. But yeah, Club, let them do their thing, let them dominate.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, we've got a couple of matches. I will just skim over them quickly. I genuinely thought that Sami Zayn was bringing the Intercontinental title to Raw, and that the Cruiserweights were going over to SmackDown, because 205 Live is on Tuesdays. Obviously, that makes sense. And if you take the Cruiserweight division over to SmackDown, that's a 2-hour show. They don't have as much room in their roster for another belt. So I actually thought what was going to happen was there was going to be 2 mid-card belts for a while, the IC and the US, and then eventually at WrestleMania, they'd actually combine the two.
Yeah, basically, WWE trolled everyone. It was one night where we all thought there was going to be a massive change. We thought, Survivor Series, this is what's going to happen. We're going to start to see the change happen. It made sense with Dolph dropping the belt to Miz, face Sami Zayn. Boom, there it goes. Because I think I'm the same as you. I would have loved to have seen a match between Ziggler versus Zayn.
Yes,
it would have been a great match.
And not only that, it's like I would love to have seen Zayn take the IC title. I think he's the kind of guy who would really bring that kind of in-ring skill, that in-ring prestige that guys like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and I think he's a really good fit for like the legacy that belt has. Yeah,
it would have brought fans who have watched it in 1990, 1991, 1992 type thing to remind them what the wrestling was like. Even the bringing it back from 2000, 2001, reminding exactly how important the Intercontinental title is. It's always, the way I look at it, the Intercontinental title is to be used as a stepping stone. It wouldn't have hurt anyone for Sami Zayn to take the title. I mean, quite frankly, it would have made sense in the battle between the slow building battle between The Miz and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
It would have been phenomenal for that to happen, just because the fact is Daniel Bryan kicking off going, you actually cost us the Intercontinental title, especially after you showboating in the match of basically trying to get one at me. And then boom, it would affect Sami Zayn propelling that across, going, right, you've now got the world title, the universal title, versus with the Intercontinental with the US. But the thing is, that would have propelled the Cruiserweights, as you said, to go on to be SmackDown, because, as you said, it makes sense, because the premiere 205 Live on 29th November will follow SmackDown Live on the network. So it makes sense. We're talking Smack that was beforehand, we'll move after that, which makes sense. But WWE decided in their unique fashion to troll us all and basically keep the title on Brian Kendrick. Which, but I can't really argue with too much, because Kendrick has been phenomenal as a champion. I mean, like, since he returned, it's been great to see what he's like, to see exactly just this ultimate new heel persona. Admittedly, it didn't help T.J. Perkins when he was champion, because we've seen him previously fall for so many mistakes. But it'd be great as a bad guy champion. You've guys like Rich Swann, Norman Dar, you've got Jack Gallagher, who'll soon to appear, who's debuted in other matches, Cedric Alexander. They've got fans to cheer against.
Well, that's the thing. The T.J. Perkins, like he was like an absolute tragedy for me. I actually called, after he beat Gargano, I called him winning the whole thing, because I thought, why else would they have him beat Mr. Wrestling, Johnny Wrestling? So I thought that, and I thought he would be an absolute huge merchandise seller, this big star, especially among the kids. But the problem is that his gimmick is actually really good, but the execution of it was so lame. The guy is nothing but a bunch of video game puns and references, and that is it. If the guy wants to know how you get over in like geek culture, Xavier Woods needs to sit down with him and have a serious talk with that kid.
Yes, it is basically that whole entire thing where it's got all the right ingredients, but it's not it's not implemented well at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I was wondering when I watched the Classic, I was looking at it going, Sabre Jr. should win this.
Yeah.
Then if Fantasy didn't sign up, and then they had Grand beat him, and I was thinking, excellent. Grand's in the final, that'll be it. TJ Perkins will be established, Grand will do his thing as well. Then Perkins won it. And it's going forward, we're looking at it thinking, right, what can it do with Perkins? And sadly enough, now that he's been defeated by Kendrick, he's gone back to the queue. Don't get me wrong, everyone will turn around and say, well, he was a former champion, he should go back to the back of the queue anyway. But he's an afterthought to some fans. He's like, he's done his bit, there's nothing resonating. You need something to stay there. And that, do you know what? I'll be blunt honest, that's the thing, that's a piss poor job they've done with what Raw's done with them, to be blunt honest. I mean, when you look at it, basically beat down the whole entire thing of Perkins. We can do the thing with Kendrick. But you know what? It's the execution of it's been on Raw, and hopefully this is the type of thing that 205 Live will do, because it was basically everyone going, oh, the cruiserweights are in there. Cool. Let them do the thing. Let them do the high-flying moves. Oh, you can't do those high-flying moves.
No, yeah.
Okay. They do fast stuff. They can't do that fast stuff now because it's Raw. Because if they do because in the middle of the show, if they do two big moves, that'll show up the guys who's there. So now we've got a full hour to basically focus on the cruiserweights. And now we can finally get a show, much like NXT, we can sit there and go, excellent.
Exactly.
Because people right now are just not seeing Noam Dar either. I mean, Noam Dar, Dorada, Swan, no one knows where they've come from. No one knows why they're doing the things. And no one knows exactly why should they be invested in their careers. I mean, you and I have seen these guys before in the past, seen them in other promotions, seen them in other companies. But your casual fan would just go, that's another small guy doing a run. That's another guy doing a dive. But they've got no invested interest in it yet.
And that's such a shame for me, because actually my favourite period of WWE wrestling since probably starting out watching NXT and seeing my first takeover was the Cruiserweight Classic. I thought that was just the absolute best thing that WWE has done since starting up NXT and making that a proper show with proper specials. And then as soon as it went on to Raw, I was like, I should have realised they'd find a way to ruin it.
Yeah, it's one of these things where you've got people that, Emily Blunt, it's case fantastic. I think if they put them in Raw to see exactly what they could do, if they could perform to a level in front of a bigger crowd. And that's great in hindsight. But the Classic had done so well. They'd done so brilliantly. I mean, everything, even with the commentating as well, and the match calling, everything was done to perfection for that. It was everyone who looked at it. I mean, even the preparation you had across here in the UK, you had ties with Progress, you had ties with Red Pro, you had ties across in America with Evolve. And it was great to see. I mean, that's something that's still continuing now, just in a different entity. But it's great to see that. Before, so it seemed as if it was something new, because when you look at the guys from across there, you brought back Tajiri, which is great, and you've seen other guys like Tony Nese, who stayed there now, who's now got his contract, great. You had the Mac, who's done fantastic in the XWX, and you had Jason Lee. Some of these guys are phenomenal, but it was almost like indie show wrestling for the bigger crowd. But it's that point in time where do you go from there? And hopefully we'll start to see more from 205 Live doing something along those lines, where bring the idea of the Cruiserweight Classic into the game, and we'll see a whole lot more.
Cool. Well guys, that was part 2, and if you think we missed out a particular talking point, we'll get right onto that in part 3.